Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be." V1. If you've ever felt like women act cold or distant around you, or worse, label you as creepy, this video is going to change your perspective. Women don't decide this at random. There are patterns, subconscious signals, and behaviors that instantly trigger discomfort. The problem? Most men don't even realize they're doing it. But here's the good news. This isn't about luck, genetics, or being naturally good with women. It's about understanding human psychology and how Stoic men avoid these pitfalls with ease. Watch until the end to learn how to command respect, attraction, and presence without ever coming off as weird, needy, or unsettling. Like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. She thinks you're unattractive. The brutal reality? Some women will call you creepy simply because they don't find you attractive. It's not logical. It's not fair. But attraction isn't about fairness, it's about instincts. Women don't think about attraction the way men do. While men can separate creepy from unattractive, women often blur the lines. Why? Because attraction, for them, is deeply tied to emotional responses and subconscious safety cues. If a man makes her feel uneasy, even without doing anything overtly wrong, her brain categorizes him as a threat. And here's the harshest truth. Most of the time, this has nothing to do with what you say. It's not about your personality, your intelligence, or your kindness. It's about what you project before you even speak. Women instinctively assess men for strength, confidence, and social awareness. If you lack these, they don't just see you as unattractive, they may perceive you as creepy. Why? Because for thousands of years, women have had to rely on their instincts to detect threats. Unlike men, who have historically relied on strength to protect themselves, women have had to develop a sixth sense for reading people's intentions. A man who appears weak, socially unaware, or overly nervous triggers those alarms. He doesn't signal strength. He doesn't seem like someone who could protect her. Instead, he makes her feel uneasy, and unease often gets translated as creepiness. Does this mean women are shallow? No. It means they are wired for survival. A man who doesn't appear capable, composed, or in control feels like a risk to her subconscious mind. Even if you're the nicest guy in the world, if you look and act uncertain, her instincts will tell her something is off. But here's where most men go wrong. They hear this truth and complain about how unfair it is. They blame women, curse modern dating, or wallow in self-pity. They tell themselves, if only women would look past appearances, they'd see the real me. But Stoic men don't make excuses. They adapt. They optimize what they can control and refuse to dwell on what they can't. And the good news? You can control a lot more than you think. It starts with presence. Before you even open your mouth, your posture, grooming, clothing, and body language are speaking for you. A slouched back, darting eyes, or hesitant movements all signal weakness. Weakness signals insecurity. And insecurity makes women feel unsafe. A high-value man moves with purpose. He holds himself with calm confidence. He doesn't fidget, doesn't shrink, and doesn't avoid eye contact. He looks people in the eye, not with desperation, but with composure. Your appearance also matters, not in the sense of needing to be a model, but in the sense of self-respect. Clean, well-fitted clothes, good grooming, and an overall polished look tell the world, I take care of myself. A man who neglects these things and then complains about women judging him is fooling himself. And then there's social intelligence. A huge part of why women feel uneasy around certain men isn't just about looks, it's about how those men interact. If you can't read subtle cues, if you force conversations, if you laugh too hard at jokes that weren't funny, or linger too long when she's clearly disengaged, you stand out in the worst way. Here's the kicker: attractive men get away with more. If a well-dressed, confident, and socially sharp man makes a bold comment, it's seen as flirting. If a poorly groomed, nervous, socially unaware man says the exact same thing, it's creepy. Is this unfair? Maybe. But that's how attraction works. And Stoic men accept reality instead of fighting it. They don't waste time complaining. They look at themselves objectively and ask, what can I improve? The difference between a man who seems creepy and a man who seems desirable is often just a few key adjustments. Women respond to confidence, competence, and control over one's presence. If you lack these, no amount of words will save you. If you master these, you won't need to prove anything. The men who struggle the most with being labeled creepy are the ones who resist self-improvement. They hide behind excuses, hoping that if they just explain themselves enough, women will suddenly understand their good intentions. But attraction isn't about logic, it's about how you make her feel. A Stoic man understands that he doesn't have to be perfect. He just has to be better. He works on his physique, not because he wants six-pack abs, but because a strong body signals strength. He grooms himself well, not to be vain, but because presentation matters. He develops his social awareness, not to manipulate, but to understand how to navigate interactions with ease. And the result? Women stop seeing him as a risk. They stop feeling that subconscious unease. Instead of triggering their creep alarms, he triggers curiosity. That's the difference between a man who repels women and a man who attracts them effortlessly. If you don't want to be labeled creepy, don't waste time complaining. Level up. Get stronger, move with confidence, and learn to read the room. If you do that, the word creepy will never be associated with you again. Chapter 2. She's uninterested, but you keep chasing. One of the biggest mistakes men make is refusing to accept reality. A woman's lack of interest is often crystal clear, but too many men ignore the signs. They convince themselves that if they just try harder, show more effort, or prove their worth, she'll suddenly change her mind. But attraction doesn't work like that. No amount of convincing can manufacture desire. It starts subtly. She responds, but with short, dry messages. She laughs at your jokes, but only politely. She says, I'd love to hang out sometime, but never actually makes the effort. A man who lacks self-awareness will rationalize it away. Maybe she's just busy. Maybe she didn't see my text. Maybe she's playing hard to get. But here's the hard truth. If a woman is genuinely into you, you won't have to guess. A woman who wants you will make it obvious. She'll be excited to see you. She'll engage in conversations, ask questions, and actively try to be part of your life. If she's distant, hesitant, or constantly making excuses, she's not interested. And the moment a man starts pushing harder, trying to win her over, he's already lost. This is where many men go wrong. They believe that effort equals attraction, that if they just do more, she'll eventually feel something. They send more messages. They give her compliments, buy her gifts, offer to do favors. But all this does is push her further away. Because attraction isn't about effort. It's about how she feels about you naturally. Think about it. Have you ever had a woman pursue you when you weren't interested? No matter how much she complimented you, how much attention she gave you, or how hard she tried to impress you, your feelings didn't change. In fact, her persistence probably made you even less interested. That's exactly how women feel when men keep chasing after rejection. A Stoic man understands that rejection is not an obstacle, it's redirection. He doesn't take it personally, doesn't dwell on it, and definitely doesn't beg for a second chance. He simply observes her level of investment, and if it's not there, he moves on without a second thought. Most men fail because they think they can change her mind. They believe that if they stick around long enough, if they show her how much they care, she'll finally see them in a different light. But this mindset is pathetic. Women don't fall for men out of obligation. They fall for men who trigger deep, natural attraction. And ironically, the more you pull away, the more interesting you become. This isn't about playing games, it's about understanding value. A man who keeps chasing after a woman who doesn't want him looks desperate. A man who recognizes disinterest and walks away looks powerful. Women are drawn to men who respect themselves enough to leave. The biggest mistake you can make is ignoring reality just because it hurts your ego. Men who lack confidence cling to false hope. They chase after women who don't care about them because it feels safer than accepting rejection. But chasing a woman who isn't interested is self-sabotage. It drains your energy, kills your confidence, and makes you look weak. A man with true strength walks away the moment he senses disinterest. He doesn't waste his time trying to convince a woman to like him because he knows he doesn't have to. A high-value man is too focused on his own purpose, too confident in his worth, to tolerate one-sided effort. This is where most men lose. They prioritize her over themselves. They put her on a pedestal, thinking that if they just prove how great they are, she'll eventually feel the same way. But attraction isn't logical. It's emotional. If she doesn't feel it, no amount of proving will change that. The more a man chases, the more repelled she becomes. It's human nature. We only value what isn't easily given. If a man is constantly available, always responding instantly, always putting in all the effort, he signals low value. A man who respects himself, on the other hand, never overinvests in a woman who isn't reciprocating. Now, here's where things get interesting. The moment you truly stop caring, something shifts. You become more attractive. Women are drawn to men who have options, who aren't emotionally dependent, who exude confidence without effort. If you can walk away without hesitation, it signals that you are the prize. And once you understand this, you'll never chase again. You'll never waste another second trying to win over a woman who doesn't care. You'll never let rejection shake your confidence, because you'll see it for what it really is, a sign that she wasn't meant for you. The strongest, most respected men don't beg, plead, or convince. They observe, assess, and move forward. They understand that attraction isn't about convincing someone to like them, it's about being the kind of man who naturally draws people in. And the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop needing anyone's approval, that's when women start noticing you. Because a man who values himself above all else is impossible to ignore. Chapter 3: Obsessive Behavior. Few things make a woman uncomfortable faster than a man who doesn't know how to let go. Obsession is one of the biggest red flags. It signals desperation, emotional instability, and a lack of self-control. And when a man crosses that line, he doesn't just lose attraction, he triggers disgust and fear. It starts small. Maybe he texts too often, lingers too long in conversations, or always seems to coincidentally be where she is. At first, she might brush it off, assuming he's just interested. But the moment she feels like she can't escape the interaction, something shifts. Her instincts take over. She stops seeing him as a potential partner and starts seeing him as a threat. A man who doesn't accept no is dangerous in a woman's mind. Even if he isn't being aggressive, his inability to respect boundaries makes her feel trapped. She starts wondering, if he can't take a hint now, what else will he ignore? This is why women instinctively pull away from men who seem too eager. If she senses that he's willing to sacrifice his dignity, self-respect, and independence just to get her attention, it immediately kills any attraction. One of the biggest mistakes men make is thinking that persistence is always attractive. It's not. There's a huge difference between being confident enough to pursue and being needy enough to not take rejection well. Confidence is when a man goes after what he wants, but knows he doesn't need it to feel fulfilled. Obsession is when a man believes his entire happiness depends on one person's validation. Women can feel the difference instantly. A Stoic man never fixates. He never needs someone to respond, validate, or engage with him. He doesn't orbit around a single woman, waiting for her to notice him. He understands that attraction is about abundance, not scarcity. There are millions of women in the world. The moment a man starts acting like one woman is his only shot at love, he's already lost. The strongest men are the ones who can walk away. Think about it. Why do women gravitate toward men who seem a little hard to get? Because detachment is powerful. A man who isn't desperate for attention signals high value. He has a life, a mission, a purpose beyond romance. He isn't waiting for a response because he's too busy living his own life. That energy is magnetic. It makes women chase him, not the other way around. Now, let's talk about physical obsession. Have you ever noticed that the guys who hover around a woman too much, who always seem to show up where she is, or who linger too long after a conversation, make her uncomfortable? That's because women don't just listen to what a man says, they feel his energy. When a man sticks around too long, constantly tries to force interaction, or seems too eager, it sets off alarm bells in her head. Even if he doesn't mean to be creepy, his presence starts to feel suffocating. A confident man knows when to leave. He enters a conversation with purpose, engages fully, and exits smoothly. He doesn't overstay his welcome or try to stretch interactions longer than they should be. He understands that less is more, that mystery and scarcity create attraction. The moment a woman feels like a man is always there, he loses his sense of challenge. And once that happens, attraction fades. This principle applies to social media as well. If a man constantly likes every post, replies to every story, and watches her every move online, he comes across as fixated. And fixation is not attractive. A high-value man doesn't need to monitor a woman's social activity, he has more important things to focus on. When a woman sees that a man isn't always hovering, always available, always reacting, she starts wondering why. She starts thinking about him more. Another form of obsession is emotional overinvestment. Some men, especially those who struggle with confidence, attach themselves too quickly to a woman they just met. They start imagining a future together, analyzing every interaction, and placing her on a pedestal. The problem? Women don't want to feel like a man's entire happiness depends on them. That's pressure, not attraction. A man who barely knows a woman yet acts like she's his whole world doesn't seem romantic, he seems unstable. A Stoic man never overvalues someone who hasn't earned it. He may be interested in a woman, but he never idolizes her. He knows that attraction grows naturally, not through force. He doesn't chase validation, doesn't beg for attention, and doesn't allow himself to become emotionally dependent on one person. His happiness is internal, not something dictated by whether or not she likes him back. Desperation kills attraction. Always. A man who exudes calm detachment is far more compelling than a man who tries too hard. When a woman feels like a man is too invested, too soon, she starts seeing red flags. She starts pulling away. But when she feels like a man is independent, self-sufficient, and completely unfazed by rejection, that's when she leans in. A strong, confident man doesn't act like a woman is his only option. He doesn't beg, he doesn't cling, and he doesn't obsess. And because of that, he becomes the kind of man women can't ignore. Chapter 4. Weird Body Language. Before you even open your mouth, your body has already spoken. Women pick up on subtle cues instantly, often without even realizing it. A man's body language can make him seem confident and attractive, or awkward and unsettling. And here's the harsh truth: if your nonverbal communication is off, it won't matter how smooth your words are. She'll already feel uneasy, and no amount of charm will fix it. Most men don't realize how much their body language betrays them. They think if they just say the right things, they can compensate for nervous energy, weak posture, or hesitant movements. But women aren't just listening, they're feeling. If your presence makes them uncomfortable, they won't even be able to explain why. They'll just know something feels off. Avoiding eye contact entirely is one of the quickest ways to make a woman feel uneasy. A man who can't hold eye contact comes across as either insecure, dishonest, or socially unaware. If you're constantly looking away, darting your eyes around, or staring at the floor, she'll assume one of two things: either you lack confidence, or you have something to hide. Neither of those is attractive. Strong eye contact is about balance. You don't need to lock eyes with her like a predator, but looking her in the eyes when you speak, or when she speaks, is a sign of self-assurance. A man who is comfortable in his own skin will naturally make steady, controlled eye contact. But on the other end of the spectrum, staring too long without taking action is just as bad. Some men think that watching a woman from a distance makes them seem mysterious or intriguing. It doesn't. It makes them seem creepy. If you're locking eyes with a woman and not making a move, not saying anything, not smiling, not approaching, you're not creating attraction. You're making her uncomfortable. Women respond to action, not passive observation. A confident man doesn't wait for the perfect moment, he creates it. If you make eye contact and she holds it, that's your cue. Walk over. Say something. Do anything other than just sit there, watching. Fidgeting is another silent killer of attraction. Playing with your hands, shifting your weight constantly, tapping your foot, all of these things broadcast nervous energy. Even if you're saying all the right words, your body is betraying you. Women pick up on discomfort instinctively. If you seem uncertain or restless, she'll assume you're lacking confidence or self-control. The most attractive men move with purpose. They stand tall, hold their ground, and only move when necessary. They don't need to fidget because they are completely at ease in their own presence. Keeping your hands in your pockets is another common mistake. It might seem like a small thing, but it makes a massive difference in how you're perceived. Hands in pockets make you look unsure of yourself, withdrawn, or even deceptive. Women trust men who are open, expressive, and in control. If your hands are buried in your pockets, you're subconsciously signaling that you're not ready to engage. Instead, let your hands rest naturally at your sides, or use them to gesture when you speak. Controlled, intentional movements show authority and confidence. Perhaps the biggest body language mistake of all is unwanted physical contact. Touching a woman too soon, in the wrong way, or without clear consent immediately triggers discomfort. Even something as small as placing a hand on her lower back when she isn't expecting it can feel invasive. Women are highly aware of physical boundaries. A man who respects those boundaries earns their trust. A man who invades them loses it instantly. The rule is simple: if she hasn't initiated physical closeness, don't force it. Confident men don't rush touch, they let it happen naturally when the moment calls for it. A Stoic man understands that body language isn't just about looking attractive, it's about commanding presence. He doesn't fidget, stare aimlessly, or hesitate. He moves with intention and control. He doesn't try to force attraction through unnecessary touching or forced eye contact. Instead, he lets his calm, composed energy do the work for him. When a man masters his presence, women feel it before they even hear a word. They don't just see confidence, they sense it. And that's why they respect him, trust him, and are drawn to him without even knowing why. Chapter 5. Inappropriate Comments. There's a fine line between confidence and creepiness, and nothing crosses that line faster than saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. A single inappropriate comment can destroy any attraction a woman might have felt, turning intrigue into discomfort in an instant. And the worst part? Most men don't even realize when they're making these mistakes. It's not always about saying something outright offensive. Sometimes it's about pushing the conversation in a direction she isn't ready for. Bringing up sex too soon, making unnecessary innuendos, or trying to force intimacy through words. These behaviors don't make you look bold, they make you look desperate. Women can instantly tell when a man is more interested in what he can get from her rather than in the natural flow of the connection. And once she feels that shift, once she senses that your focus is more on escalating than engaging, she checks out. Men often assume that being flirtatious means constantly reminding a woman that they're attracted to her. They think if they don't drop compliments every other sentence or hint at physical attraction, she won't get the message. But in reality, the more a man forces attraction, the less attractive he becomes. Confidence isn't about announcing your intentions every 5 minutes, it's about being comfortable enough to let things develop naturally. A man who constantly tries to prove his desirability through words is a man who lacks faith in his own presence. One of the biggest mistakes men make is using forced, needy comments to seek validation. Phrases like "where's my hug" might seem harmless, but they immediately put a woman in an uncomfortable position. She now feels obligated to give a physical response she may not want to give. And more importantly, she sees the underlying message, "This man needs validation from me." That's never attractive. A truly confident man doesn't ask for physical affection, he creates an environment where it happens naturally. Unsolicited sexual remarks are another immediate red flag. If she hasn't brought up sex, then neither should you. It's that simple. The fastest way to make a woman uncomfortable is to push the conversation toward intimacy before she's given any indication that she's interested in going there. Many men make the mistake of thinking that being direct about their desires makes them alpha. It doesn't. It makes them socially blind. Women enjoy tension, mystery, and the slow build of attraction. If a man jumps straight into sexual territory, he's skipping the most important part of seduction, the anticipation. Overcomplimenting is another common trap men fall into. Telling a woman she's beautiful once is flattering. Saying it 5 times in one conversation makes it lose all meaning. Attraction isn't built through endless praise, it's built through dynamic, engaging interaction. If every sentence out of a man's mouth is a compliment, it starts to feel forced, as if he's trying to buy her interest instead of earning it. And women can sense that immediately. They don't want a man who worships them on sight, they want a man who sees them as a whole person, not just an object of desire. The truth is, attraction isn't about overwhelming a woman with words. It's about presence. A Stoic man understands that seduction isn't about trying too hard, it's about understanding timing, energy, and mutual desire. He knows that forcing an interaction ruins the mystery. That's why he doesn't rush. He doesn't fill silence with meaningless flattery. He doesn't steer the conversation toward intimacy before she's ready. He lets the tension build naturally, without pushing it. The fastest way to seem creepy is to act as if you're entitled to her attraction. If a man is constantly nudging for a reaction, trying to force a hug, fishing for compliments, making inappropriate jokes, he's broadcasting insecurity. And insecurity is the opposite of attraction. A man who needs validation is never going to be as desirable as a man who knows his worth. A Stoic man moves differently. He doesn't rely on words to create attraction. His presence does that for him. When he speaks, it's with purpose. When he compliments, it's because he genuinely means it, not because he's hoping for a reaction. When he flirts, it's with confidence, knowing that attraction isn't something that can be begged for, it's something that naturally happens when a man carries himself with strength, awareness, and control. Chapter 6: Lack of Awareness. Most creepy behavior doesn't come from bad intentions, it comes from a lack of social awareness. Many men who are labeled as creepy aren't trying to make women uncomfortable, they simply fail to read the room. They don't notice when their presence is unwanted, when their words aren't landing, or when their actions are making people uneasy. And in social dynamics, ignorance is no excuse. Women are highly attuned to body language, tone, and unspoken cues. They notice when a conversation starts feeling forced, when eye contact becomes too intense, or when personal space is being invaded. Men who lack awareness miss all of this. They continue talking when the energy has already shifted. They stay too long when they should have walked away. They push a conversation forward even when the woman is clearly disengaged. And because of that, they come across as unsettling. One of the biggest red flags in any social interaction is ignoring discomfort. If she steps back, give her space. If she shifts her body away, don't inch closer. If her responses become short and mechanical, recognize that the conversation has run its course. Many men make the mistake of thinking that persistence is attractive, that if they just keep talking or keep engaging, they'll eventually win her over. But this only makes things worse. A woman who is uninterested will not suddenly become interested just because you refuse to walk away. A Stoic man doesn't just listen to words, he listens to the environment. He notices the subtle shifts in energy. He recognizes when his presence is appreciated and when it's not. And most importantly, he never forces himself into spaces where he isn't welcome. Social awareness also means understanding the difference between confidence and intrusiveness. Many men mistakenly believe that being bold means ignoring hesitation and plowing forward. But true confidence isn't about forcing interactions, it's about moving through the world with a sense of control and emotional intelligence. A man with awareness doesn't just think about what he wants, he considers how his presence is being received. This is where many men fail. They operate solely on their own perception rather than the reality of the situation. They assume that because they feel comfortable, the woman must also feel comfortable. They mistake politeness for interest, assuming that just because she's nodding along, she must be enjoying the conversation. But here's the truth, many women will go along with an interaction just to avoid conflict. Just because she's smiling doesn't mean she's engaged. Just because she hasn't explicitly told you to leave doesn't mean she wants you to stay. A Stoic man picks up on these signals without needing them to be spelled out. He understands that not every interaction is meant to continue, and that's okay. If a woman is interested, the conversation will flow naturally. If she's not, no amount of effort will change that. The moment you have to convince someone to enjoy your presence, you've already lost. And this applies not just to verbal interactions, but also to body language. One of the biggest indicators of discomfort is physical withdrawal. If a woman crosses her arms, steps back, or angles her body away, these are all non-verbal cues that she is creating distance. A man who lacks awareness will miss these signs and continue acting as if everything is normal. But a man with strong social intuition adjusts immediately. He respects personal space. He understands that attraction should be mutual, not one-sided. Another sign of low awareness is lingering too long. Many men don't know when to exit a conversation, and they overstay their welcome. This often happens in bars, at social events, or even in casual settings like the gym. They assume that as long as she isn't explicitly rejecting them, they should keep talking. But the reality is, most women will not directly tell you to leave, they will simply withdraw their engagement. They will start giving shorter answers, looking around the room, or finding excuses to disengage. A man who ignores these cues and keeps talking isn't being confident, he's being oblivious. A Stoic man avoids all of this by understanding the art of knowing when to walk away. He never forces a connection. He never lingers in spaces where his presence isn't welcome. And because he respects the social dynamic, he never comes across as creepy, he comes across as confident, self-aware, and in control. The truth is simple, men who lack awareness make women uncomfortable. Men who read the environment earn respect. If you want to avoid the creepy label, don't just focus on what you say, focus on how you're being received. Chapter 7. Trying Too Hard. The biggest irony about attraction? The harder you try to prove you're not creepy, the creepier you become. It's a paradox that many men struggle to understand. Desperation isn't just unattractive, it's unsettling. And women have an almost supernatural ability to detect it. The moment you start forcing humor, over-explaining yourself, or trying too hard to be liked, you send a clear message you're unsure of yourself. And nothing makes a woman feel more uncomfortable than a man who lacks self-assurance. Attraction isn't built through convincing. You don't win respect by pleading for it, just like you don't win desire by constantly trying to entertain, impress, or seek approval. When a man pushes too hard for validation, whether through excessive compliments, nervous laughter, or exaggerated confidence, it has the opposite effect. Instead of seeming strong, he seems weak. Instead of seeming confident, he seems desperate. A Stoic man understands this. He doesn't perform, he simply exists. He is comfortable in silence. He doesn't feel the need to fill every moment with words, jokes, or flattery just to keep a woman's attention. He knows that his presence alone is enough. That's the difference between a man who is naturally attractive and one who comes off as creepy. One is effortlessly secure in himself, while the other is begging for validation. Trying too hard also manifests in over-explaining and justifying behavior. If you feel the need to constantly clarify your intentions, you're already in dangerous territory. If a woman senses that you're nervously trying to prove that you're a good guy, she'll instinctively start questioning why you feel the need to say it. Real confidence never announces itself, it simply is. A man who is truly self-assured doesn't need to explain why he's worthy of respect. His actions do the talking. And this applies to humor as well. There's a massive difference between being funny and trying to be funny. The first comes naturally, the second comes off as performative. Many men fall into the trap of constantly cracking jokes, laughing too much, or making self-deprecating comments just to win favor. While humor is a powerful tool for attraction, forced humor is a sign of insecurity. Women don't laugh out of politeness, they laugh when something is genuinely funny. And if your humor is driven by a need for approval, it loses its charm instantly. A Stoic man doesn't try to be funny. He speaks when he has something worth saying, and his humor comes effortlessly, without expectation. He never forces a reaction. And because of that, when he does speak, people listen. This principle extends to body language as well. Men who try too hard to impress often have unnatural, jittery energy. They fidget, they move too much, they over-gesture. Instead of projecting calm confidence, they project uncertainty. A man who constantly seeks validation through his words and movements is like an actor on stage, trying to win applause. And just like a bad performance, women can tell when it's not real. The solution? Stop trying to win interactions. Stop trying to impress. Stop trying to prove yourself. Instead, embody the mindset of a Stoic man, calm, composed, and indifferent to validation. When you stop craving approval, something incredible happens. People start giving it to you freely. Women don't respect men who beg for their attention. They respect men who command it without effort. That's why the most magnetic men aren't the ones trying to be liked, they're the ones who are already secure in their own worth. Creepiness isn't about looks or luck. It's about behavior, self-respect, and social awareness. Master these 7 principles, and you'll never be seen as unsettling again. In fact, you'll radiate confidence, dominance, and presence, everything that naturally attracts women. Like, subscribe, and comment below. What's the creepiest thing you've ever seen a guy do? Let's talk.